Okay.
Wednesday, June 26th, at the meeting with Ocean Highway Authority to order. Commissioner Nelson will be meeting us an invocation, and I will listen to the pledge of allegiance.
Right, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity that we can come gather around these tables and serve the citizens of this county as well as serving you. We just ask tonight that you give us discernment between right and wrong, good and bad. Father, we ask that you walk along these commissioners, guide and direct, and be with our first responders and our military. Watch over them and bless them. We ask it all in Jesus' name for his sake. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Cole,
Here.
Commissioner Fullwood, Commissioner Nelson,
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Here.
Chair Hill.
Here.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is recognition of elected officials and distinguished members of the community and please as well. We have Michelle Askew, Macy Askew, we have Brianna Fullwood, Davis Bean, candidates for office, Jenny Dudley, and Scott Moore. We have Sherry Mitchell here from the Nassau County County Development Board, Julia Roberts, news leader, Mr. Chris Bailey, thank you for attending. I think one comment card, if we have any other comments from the public, please just give Rosanna your name and the item you like to speak on. I have one comment card from Sherry Mitchell, but it's only when she's called upon to speak, so we'll just keep that. Thank you. Old business. So the first item in 7A is the Ally contract. This is an action item. We have an amended version that after I believe to provide some feedback on, and that is subject to a motion in a second. And this is an action. Motion in a second. Okay. So no motion on this item. Is there any discussion on that item?
Chair, we're talking the allied contract. The only question I had was the vacation. I think everything else has been put to rest on this. Am I understanding that correctly?
So through the chair, the document in front of you has some of the changes that we wanted based on a previous draft. If you look at the additional notes, the highlighted portion, that's the language from Allied, that's their policy. So we have something to suggest that's not something I'm going to suggest that needs to come from the board. So if we want something different than what they indicated here in the additional notes, then we need to.
Okay, well, that'd be my next point. Under the additional notes, vacation, any officer that has 2 or more years of service at this site will be granted a standard allied vacation that will be billed back to the client who is taken. Vacations are billed at bill rate times 40 per week. I don't see anything wrong with it. These folks deserve time off for time served. And we discussed that in some of the other meetings that we've had about the vacations. I know the rates have been accepted. I would hate to see this be the only sticking point. But it's my opinion that, you know, these folks deserve a vacation just like everybody's vacation. And you sit here and say, well, we're not going to pay for it. You know, we're going to give them $250 at the end of the year just as a bonus. That's unacceptable. We need to take care of these people because they take care of us. And I don't understand why people would sit here and say, well, you know what, we're just not going to pay for the vacation. Well, if those folks don't show up to work, you don't go to work because you can't run the terminal without security. That's a fact. So I'd like to hear something from the other commissioners on the vacation. This is not something that's new.
I don't have a problem.
I think if we have a security officer there that comes and does their due diligence every day, and they're there for 2 or more years of service, as the note says, then they will be granted a vacation of 2 weeks for that year. That's not asking too much.
Does it say in here what the standard, it looks like it's all capital letters, is that define Allied Universal Vacation? Is there a vacation policy, do you know how much that's gonna cost?
I think it's right there, they're billed at whatever rate, on 40 hours, a week,
So it's 2 weeks, or is it 10 weeks, or?
however many time they take.
Right, it says at the time point, the officer takes off, if he only takes a week for that year, then that's all we have to pay. If he does take the 2 weeks, and we need to understand that they're not going to everybody take off at the same time. Allied knows how to manage their staffing. The most important thing is to make sure that those gates out there are manned. And, they work it out. If they send somebody on vacation, then they have to send a floater out there to take care of it. So, that part of it is theirs. But we need to do something for those full-time people that come out there every day, day in and day out, and do what they do. And, we don't get any complaints about their service. They're on time, they're there, they do their job, and I think this is the least that this board can do.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments about that? Do you want to take a vote, or is there any items you feel like are missing? I know the golf cart was removed. I haven't heard from Greg whether that was an issue. Are you aware that they, added the golf cart and then restruck the golf cart? Do you want the golf cart?
No, it was, I could do it with the agreement that you sent to us.
Okay.
Which was starting about.
There was an email from them this week that I got, thanks from Roseanne, about taking out the golf cart. I will take it out, however, note this is just language, and if the golf cart is not needed, there is language in the addendum that addresses that. Also, please note that the current port operator has asked for a patrol, which cannot be done without the golf cart.
Say that last sentence one more time.
That the port operator, but also please note that the current port operator has asked for a patrol, which cannot be done without the golf cart. You aware of that? That's the first I've heard of that too. I mean, I understand that they're gonna have escort duties as well. The port has a 4-door pickup truck that I've seen being used more for maintenance than anything else. When there is a need for it, maybe they can consider taking that 4-door pickup truck and allowing that security officer to use it when he's finished up with his escort. Then he returns it back down to the office or to the maintenance. But I think that they can work around that. It was my understanding when they talked about patrol, it was going to be between the interchange and the south main gate. That's about a 100-yard walk. So, but I do understand that they're going to be escorting people throughout the terminal, that a vehicle would be the most safest way to move them about. I agree. And I move that we accept the Allied contract. Second.
I have a motion second to accept the Allied contract, with the highlighted changes. Is that your motion or after?
To be clear, we're talking about amendment 2 to the contract, correct? We already have a contract, I just want to make sure the record's clear that the motion is to approve amendment 2 to the contract. That's what this document is. You go to the top.
And that
Keep going.
Yeah, Amendment 2, yes.
Thank you.
And do you agree to that in a second? Okay.
And for clarity, that would include taking of vacation days.
It's in there.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and second to approve the amendment to. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? None. Okay, the motion carries unanimously. The next item up on the agenda is in old business is 7B, the open property sale business plan and resolution. This is full.
You want to talk about the resolution?
Sure, there's two resolutions here. One deals with the actual sale of the property. You all can read it, we have read it. The only real highlight here is what we discussed previously. That the sale, should it be approved, will be conditioned upon covering some restrictions reported in public records limiting development of the property to single family residences as provided by the city's code, plan development code, state of Florida building code, and any other codes and regulations. And then the other resolution deals with the allocation of any funds that are received through the disposition of the property.
All right, the second one, dealing with the funds produced by the property. It says in section 2, the funding either in total or in part of a remodel and or upgrade of the structure, more commonly known as the Customs House at 403 North 3rd Street, Fernandina Beach, used by OPA, subject to further approval by the OPA Board of Commissioners. Be deposited by OPA or deposited by OPA reserve in OPA reserve fund, subject to further approval by the OPA Board of Commissioners. Which means we put it in our reserve fund, and we have several things that we could do with it. That's why Sherry is here tonight. She's going to give us some insight into what we can do with that in the county. And I would like to call her up, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, and let her talk about some of those things.
Right.
Thank you, Sherry.
Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yes.
One of the projects that I was referring to the last time I was here was a manufacturer. This manufacturer is looking to relocate, has already identified Nassau County as a sweet spot. It's an area over on the west side of the county. And so I'd like to start to have meetings with the property owner, your leadership, to kind of have those discussions. This company is actually looking for a turnkey facility already made. Of course, we don't have something like that. But the opportunities are endless because this could be a revenue generating opportunity for somebody that would be willing to purchase the property and put up a facility working with that development close in hand. So, you know, if we can coordinate schedule in the next week, I'd like to sit down with you guys and kind of go and hash that out in further detail. The cost on that, I spoke a little bit about with one of the developers, and I've been up to this area in Georgia. And it is a $3 to $5 million development. That is just the one of the first phases. And so again, this is would have to be up to OPA being the property owners of the property over on the west side of the county. And like I said, it would be a great opportunity. If the ball is in our court, they're literally waiting to hear something back from Nassau County. And again, the last conversation that I've had with them, we simply don't have standing facilities and buildings. So if that's something that you guys would consider being a part of on a development and project related development like that, it would be more of a conversation.
Now, this sale of this property is not going to get us anywhere near what the cost of all that would be. But I think, and I've said this for years, it's time for us to move out of Fernandina and into the county. And this is a great opportunity for us to really start talking about that
And with the sale of the property, will give us some funds to explore those possibilities. And I just think it's we need to sit down with Sherry and talk about it and see how we can manage things, how we can, maybe develop some property on the west side. And use it as income for us, for the board. And it's something we need, and I think it's something we need to do.
And I'm happy to answer any questions if you want to, have one-on-one conversations. I can give you a little bit more detail, but as you know, I do sign NDAs with a lot of the businesses that we talk to. So, but yes, I'd be more than willing to share, a little bit further detail on this.
So you can't take questions tonight?
A few, or, yes.
Is it a specific property or is it multiple properties?
Actually, it is a specific property with a couple of different, parcels over there. Off of the US one.
And is it a specific, candidate for the site or is it
Yes.
multiple candidates?
One manufacturer that's got 200 jobs that are created from this facility, from this business. And there's one of the pain points that they're going through right now is being able to retain the current workforce. So we would like to have the workforce component tied into this kind of deal. And again, I can go into further details, speaking to you guys one-on-one.
So they're looking to rent property,
Do what?
they're looking to rent property,
Yes, they are.
they're willing to sign a 20-year lease,
Yeah, yeah.
and would they, obviously, build to suit lease, obviously? So in other words,
Yeah, definitely.
like a year from now, the property could be built for them.
So, did you just say it's just a warehouse facility or did you provide more detail about that facility?
It is going to be a little bit more advanced manufacturing.
So is this a multinational, national, local?
Local, actually, they're in Georgia
How long have they been in business?
for over 40 years. It's a credible, operation.
What is their first initial? No, I'm kidding.
You don't want to tell me what it is, but I know what it is, you'd rather not say.
Yes,
right
but
now.
I spoke to Chairman Hill about that, and I'll refresh, I'll remind you of it. And, we spoke briefly on that when I was talking about, some of the loans that you guys will possibly be able to help with.
Are there any other incentives that, might be?
And that's one of the discussions that we have to have, because the incentives would fall on the property owner, the person that's going to be developing it. So you would be obviously, eligible for the local EDG, economic development grant, and also statewide, initiative grants.
So what other, sites are they considering outside of Florida?
Bay County. Bay County, Florida.
Okay.
So they want to stay in Florida, and they have a lot of their staff currently that lives on the west side of the county. They were not interested in the Wildlife Commerce Park. They were not interested in the Crawford Diamond.
Mhm.
They have a sweet spot that they're truly interested in.
So I know a lot of incentives require that they be considering other sites, either outside of the state, if it's a state incentive, or outside of county, if it's a county-based incentive. So I just want to make sure we don't get too far ahead in terms of, finalizing anything, because I wouldn't want to, I wouldn't want to impair their ability to get whatever incentives they qualify to work there and
Understood, understood. And I think that's where we have to have those discussions, because a lot of those state incentives will, the folks that are going to be developing, they will be the ones capitalizing on those incentives. Not necessarily, that's why it's kind of a tricky development. And so, but again, yeah, it's a great opportunity. I'd love to talk to you guys more about that.
And Sherry can tell you, we've lost a lot of businesses in the last 10 years because we just didn't have the infrastructure. Nobody was willing to do anything to look ahead and get something built and then be able to lease it out or sell it or whatever. I think it's a great opportunity for us to look into doing something like that.
Pierre, is there funding available if we have, a valid, substantiated revenue stream? Is there a way for us to bond that? through our charter?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest issue would be security, right? He's guaranteeing these payments, obviously, the Port Authority doesn't have the ability to secure a loan of $45 million. But certainly with a signed lease, the ability to see, again, with a 20-year, that's why the question of how strong financially is this company? But if they sign a 20-year lease, then can you take that can you float bonds to fund that facility and pay it off with their guaranteed lease payments?
Which we've done in the past.
Right, so, I mean, so again, it just, how strong is this company,
And I do have all that.
Yeah, so obviously, but that'd be a discussion with the bond trustees, so the bond, not trustees, but the bond, whoever's gonna issue underwriters, right, so, of whether they'd accept that guarantee for X amount, again, on a long-term lease.
I can tell you it's a very strong company. They've been around for a long, long time. You would recognize the name right off.
Yeah.
And know what kind of company they are.
I appreciate that. I think we're all very keenly interested. The item we're discussing relates to property sale, and any proposed investment in Nassau County shouldn't require a public body to sell land. So, but I appreciate that, and I think we are very interested, and we do want to,
Okay, thank you. We look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
So any more questions about the property sale, which I think, frankly, is a separate issue?
We're taking separately.
So I'd just like to comment that, this is that's okay. I think these are the types of ideas and initiatives that we should be pursuing. I don't think that is anything to be selling. And I asked Pierre, I know I emailed you a couple of days ago, so you probably haven't had time to look at it, but these resolutions don't really do anything to prevent the proceeds from being spent on anything. And they also don't include, and this is really more for Patrick, and your commitments that have been made to the community about deed restrictions. This basically just says that the property will be developed consistent with what's allowed in the land development code. So I don't see that these resolutions meet what was promised.
So my response to that is I'm not clear what was promised. And so we discussed this at the last meeting, given all of the various discussions about deed restrictions and what those mean and what they can be. My recommendation was you keep it from this board's perspective as simple as you can. It's currently zoned R2, which does allow multifamily. If that's not what you want, then just say that. And leave it up to the buyer to then navigate the local land development code with the restriction that all we want this to be, the most we want this to be a single family. If you want to get into details of side yard setbacks and front yard setbacks and orientation of buildings and all that, we can do that. I didn't develop that because I didn't know what this board's consensus was on those issues, and pursuant to the conversation we had at the last board meeting, it was my understanding we wanted to keep it simple, just limit it to single family. That was also the guidance I got from Commissioner Fullwood, who put these resolutions before you for consideration. So I'm here to take any feedback from the board and decision from the board that these need to be modified. But this is about as clear as I've got it in my head. And so if there are other restrictions or other language we need, I'm here to listen and take notes and make changes.
So the city of Front Beach comprehensive plan for element includes specific setbacks. And I think it's a 20 or 30 foot buffer. So I don't think we can dispose of land leaving a zero buffer.
I don't think you're doing that with this document. It's literally says it has to comply with the city of plan.
Okay, but once it's sold, then it's gonna be an R2.
No, currently it is.
Right, so it's further than R2, but it's open land.
What, that, after we sell it, that has nothing to do
So there will be no buffer.
with nothing.
I don't know that.
Well,
It's not, I don't believe this property is part of the port element because it's outside of the facility and it is zoned R2.
Oh, okay. So you don't think we have an obligation to preserve a buffer in the sale?
that's what I was told from the city.
If the property is subject to the port element, it doesn't have anything to do with this board. This board can't change that. So the point of this particular resolution is to, as it's written, is to just say, this property is zoned R2, which allows for multifamily, which you all, I did get clearly don't want on that property. And so we're gonna limit it to single family and any other requirements that are out there in the city code, the building code, any other state of Florida regulations, the purchaser will have to comply.
And it says that in section 2. Madam Chair, I move the adoption of resolution number 2024 R07. And I'll second.
So this resolution is a resolution of Ocean High Port Authority. It says we're the record title holder of real property located at 332 North Third Street, Vernon Beach, identified as the Nassau County Property Appraisal Directors and parcel number. Whereas for its charter, OPA has the authority, duty, and obligation to oversee the management OPA owned real estate, including the above described property. And then it resolves that OPA will oversee the sale of OPA property at the location, what's the address. Any such sale of OPA, the property will be conditioned upon covenants and restrictions. Is it, okay, what they will be recorded in the public records of Nassau County, Florida, limiting any development of property to single family residences as provided for and regulated by the city of Vernon Beach, Florida, Land Code, state of Florida Building Code, and any other applicable local, state, and federal laws and regulations. That's it. Just for discussion purposes, we have a motion second. So those are the only restrictions. There will be no like moving to a nuisance restrictions. And like, so if a purchaser buys the property, there's like typically you would put, if you're the developer, a residential lot adjacent to a commercial lot, you would put in the deed that they acknowledge that they're moving to a lot next to a lot you're about to develop for commercial purpose, if you're doing that. So you wouldn't consider putting in a deed restriction that says that they're moving to a nuisance.
These aren't things that I'm considering. These are things you are considering.
Okay, so you didn't receive that direction from Commissioner Court. Okay.
This doesn't obligate you to sell it. It only means that if you proceed with sale of the property,
It says we will oversee the sale of the property.
yeah, you're gonna oversee it. You can reject offers, you haven't been offered a potential sale, a contract and a deed, none of that has been presented to you for approval. You're not at that stage. All this is saying is this is your property, you're charged with managing it, you're going to oversee the sale of it. Subject to this board's approval, if you do proceed with the sale of it, it will be limited to single family residents and the city code, any state regulations, any other land development, permitting, any of those things. The purchaser will be bound by those, as they already are, and frankly, as you are as well.
So if the land development code and the zoning code already apply to the property, what does this resolution accomplish?
It accomplishes reducing the density in R2 to single family home. Right now, you can put multifamily on this piece of property. So what the only real effect of this resolution is that it acknowledges the current zoning and said, we're going to limit it to single family residence home.
So why wouldn't we have a resolution if we aren't actually getting forward with the sale at this time? Until we've evaluated whatever, we have to talk about Jerry, why would the resolution say that if we ever do sell the land and strike the part about overseeing the sale, if we haven't decided that we're gonna sell it?
We have decided we're gonna sell it. We made that motion months ago. Yes, we're gonna sell it. And you keep trying to skirt around that, but we've already made a motion to do that. And this is the resolution that mailed it.
Like, this gets it going, let's get something going, we've made the vote, it passed, we need action on this, and we need to move ahead, and this is what this resolution will be. I understand there can be other changes and other conditions applicable at a sale. We can make those things valid, but at this point, we need to move forward.
You want a resolution to do that? This is the resolution, and you want a resolution to say what we're gonna do with the money, and that's the next one.
So do you think, what do you think this will accomplish in terms of the value of the land?
I'm sorry,
What do you think this will accomplish in terms of the value of the land?
the value of the land.
Because our broker, or Phil came forward and said that if we restricted the zoning, it would reduce the value of the land, market value.
If it's zoned for single family residential, which is what the community wanted, then we've already been given some pricing, which was around $600,000, $700,000, just those two lots. So I don't think it would have anything to do with anything to do with what you're talking
Okay, so, and I know that's the next resolution you're gonna bring, but why do you think that we should have to come up with $600,000 for this investment
about.
project?
I didn't say we were gonna come up with, I said, that's what we were told that it should work. Now, whether or not we can get that for it, that's up to us to decide whether we want to accept whatever it's offered.
Right, but if we do sell a $600,000 asset, then we have the cash. Why do we need $600,000 cash in the bank account?
I'm gonna tell you that in just a minute.
But you want us to vote to sell it first?
Yes.
But we've already,
Selling. Come on,
We're just doing a resolution to,
you're keeping delaying this thing, trying to get it done.
Well, this is the first time we've had a presentation on this topic. And I think the first time the public's heard it, so I don't think the public is as frustrated to have this information as you are in this discussion. I think it's a normal process.
Well, the process has come to an end as far as I'm concerned. We've got a motion on the floor. Let's hold on.
Okay. Call the vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? No. Okay, your motion carries 3-2. Your next item is resolution 2024 R08.
Yes, I'll move for the adoption of resolution 2024 R08. Sorry.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair. So I do want to make a comment. My initial question, with looking at your proposal, Mr. Fuller, was where's the investment opportunity? They look at this and say, okay, so, go in park, go over in park, remodel and upgrade custom house or deposit into the reserve fund. And so, yeah, the question for me was, what are we going to do with that money? At some point, it's going to be, oh, we've got legal fees we got to pay for. Oh, we'll watch it tap into our reserves, or maintenance, tap in reserve, or anything that comes up, because it's there. But what happens when that money runs out? We turn around and have to once again sell another parcel. And to me, that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't sound like we're setting ourselves up for success in the future. And I've used the term short-sighted, and we really got to think of long-term sustainability. Now, Sherry coming here, and I greatly appreciate that and that opportunity, and I think that could be a wonderful investment opportunity, and I look forward to sit down because I agree with what you said, Mr. Boyd. Let's look at opportunities off island and further out west, and we know they're there. How can we get involved? And so, seeing that there might be an opportunity to do so, I look forward to sit down and talk about that. But my concern with reading this, again, I don't see that investment opportunity. I just see it's going to go into your reserve account. It's just going to sit there, and I don't know if I trust this board, with it just sit there.
Well, you're one of the members of the board.
Yeah, well, one or two who's, yeah, we'll leave it on there.
Okay.
So if we do not allocate funding for the custom house by selling land, who pays for the custom house? If we don't have assets available.
Once it's not being used as custom house anymore, because I think that's the implication here is that obviously we're building a new customs house. And so that's gonna become the port operator's responsibility. The port operator today is responsible for the customs house. Once that house is no longer used as the customs house, you know, is it really the port operator's responsibility to maintain that? I don't know. I mean, that's a, obviously as its customs house because it's being used for port operations at this point. But obviously we're building a new customs house. The port operator will be responsible for maintaining the new customs house. But the old customs house, I mean, it's just like, the port operator is not responsible for maintaining all of OHPA properties wherever they are, right? They're not responsible for maintaining the sign out at the property.
Currently, as being operated as a customs house currently, who's responsible for maintenance?
The operator.
Yeah. So the customs house historically has been maintained by who?
The customs house
The building.
being used by customs, right? A house being used by the customs office is the port operator. And no, it was not the port operator's responsibility until
The operating agreement.
4 years ago. No, 4 years ago when customs or the U.S. government said we're not paying anything.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was OHPA's. We were receiving rent for 10, 15 years prior. We, the Ocean Highway Port Authority, and spent that money, right? We were receiving more money than it was costing us to operate a customs house.
I think it was $10,000 a year.
That at least was contributed to the OHPA towards the OHPA spending from a lease with the U.S. government to lease customs house as a facility for customs, and they paid for that. 4 years ago, I think, the U.S. government said, we're no longer paying you. The ports are responsible for, if you want customs there, you need to supply a place, and that's where all these building requirements come from, that they say, we need a building that does this, 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 and this, right? And obviously, the building that customs currently occupies does not meet that, which is why we need a new building for customs to meet their requirements per, not their lease, but just for them to be at the facility. That's the minimum they require. If you want customs at the facility, you have to supply us with this. And no, we're not paying it right for it. But prior to whatever the exact date is, but about 4 years ago, all the rent was coming to, so customs were paying, or, the U.S. government was essentially paying us a rent of X per month. We were paying, the Ocean Island Port Authority was paying all the expenses for the customs house, including maintenance, and receiving a surplus from that, and that went into Ocean Island Port Authority operation.
Did we put that surplus back into the building or no?
We maintained the building. We
But we kept
did
the
what we
surplus
did.
in other things.
We did not set it aside to specifically use for the building in the future. No, we maintained the building with what the building needed.
If you don't want to use it as an office space and use some of that money to upgrade it, which Roseanne wants, she'd like to have it. An office space. Don't shake your head, you told me that many times. We can always sell it.
Right, well, so obviously, once customs has a new building, the question will be, what do you want to do with the old customs house? Do you move into it? Do you rent it out? Do you sell it? Those are the three main options. I don't know what other options there are, but those are the three main options, right? It'll be it's Ocean Highway Port Authority property. It's yours to do with what you want at that point, or leave it empty.
There's a motion, a second, and there's discussion, we're in discussion phase. So Greg, I know you've seen the plan to the custody house. Does that plan contemplate what's gonna happen to the vacated facility?
I need a question more.
That plan does not include what's going to happen to it after the new one's built.
Yeah, I thought there was an estimate, there's an estimate that included some repurposing. Of this ditch, but what it doesn't necessarily mean is in plan on the part. Has nothing to do with the new customs ponds. So it exists there, you know, roughly over there to the estimate. But we don't have plans for it. I don't think it's.
And the building doesn't belong
Our operating plans to operate, it doesn't really serve a purpose for us. Like we were in control, we bought. Let's get something with it.
But it's not, there's not really a way to separate it from that other structure.
Share it, the roof of the existing office does. I think it might touch the existing structure, maybe separate. I mean, one be operated without the other.
So, here, does this language here protect whatever the proceeds of the sale are from being used for O&M under the operating agreement? Or would you consider them to be available if they're in the reserve fund?
So this would be a separate, so obviously there's the maintenance and capital reserve fund that's funded by the operator. And obviously it's funded by in the future by some of the tonnage fees. This would be essentially a separate investment account. So no, it would not be subject to being used for maintenance or being called for by the operator for maintenance at the port.
So what is that supposed to mean, Patrick, when it says deposited OPUS reserve fund subject to further approval? Does that mean that the depositing is subject to further approval? What additional approvals required to do what?
It would be however you want to process that, whether you're putting it all towards the customs house, part of it in reserves, the amount, where it's going, all of that.
So this really doesn't restrict the proceeds from being spent on any one thing or another.
I think it restricts the proceeds from either going to rehabilitation, renovation of the customs house or going into the reserve fund. As opposed to the general fund or capital improvement fund or any other allocation. Again, these are my ideas, so I'm happy to receive instruction, receive feedback on any other board desires along the funds. What the discussion was that I had with Commissioner Fullwood and that I've taken from this meeting, generally, this board generally wants to know where is this money going to? Because of your discussion that I'm not going to attempt to summarize. And so what this resolution says is the money can go to either a total or in part rehabilitation of the customs house produced by OPA, or it can go into the reserve fund. So subject to further approval would be how much it's going to what reserve fund it's going to. That's not my business. I don't know what those look like. So it would be, once you get the funds, here's how much they are. We don't know how much they are right now. How much do we want to go to the customs house? This board decides. How much do we want to go in reserve funds? This board decides. What this resolution would restrict you from doing is saying, we want to take some of these funds and replace it with, we want to take some of these funds and have a party. Whatever, we want to take some of these funds and put them in the general fund. In any of those other things, this resolution would prohibit.
We are, I'm sorry. We are an operating voting board. We can decide in the future what we're going to do with the exact funds, even though this says what it says, we can still decide that in the future. It's not changing anything.
So
And this just gets us going and gives us something to work on.
And so
my concern, and I think I expressed this in the email, is that in the operating agreement, it says if OPA has funds available, that we have to contribute toward capital improvements for maintenance projects. Work. And so if they're 15,000. And so could we write in there that these funds will not be considered available for that purpose?
we can, although I think what the operator, I'd have to look at it to make sure. But I thought it was if there's funds available in the maintenance and capital reserve account,
Correct.
which is funded by $5,000 for the operator on a monthly basis. Plus, when we start getting tonnage fees, part of those fees will be directed to that account for a while. So once, if they're not in that account, the operator cannot ask ask us to use funds from some other source for maintenance support. So that falls to the operator. Yeah, I'll just say, obviously, so, pursuing an idea like this, a bond issuance is going to incur fees before we get to the point where, obviously there'll be legal fees. If there's a proposal for a contract, there'll be negotiations, obviously, there'll be charges from a bond consultant. So even exploring those types of activities will require some kind of funding. So, if you're going to pursue those kind of ideas, there has to be some money available to pursue those. So again, these are all expensive, kind of, a bond consultant, kind of, again, doesn't do much pro bono work. I mean, if there's a good chance they may charge it to when we issue the bonds and things like that, but still there's fees to be incurred.
Okay, so does this, provide the appropriate controls that you're comfortable with, that the funding would be used for that purpose? Or are there certain controls we could put in place to ensure that it gets used for that purpose?
So as Commissioner Taylor said, there's nothing to stop the board from voting to use these funds for whatever needs they want, other than the board, you have money in your budget to operate the OSHA. I've said this, obviously the fixed fees provide you with enough funds to operate for the normal operation of the Ocean Port Authority. But there's nothing, obviously, there's no reserve, there's no, I don't think, and I mean, that's more of a legal question, that you could pass a resolution that would stop you from spending these funds on whatever purpose if the board voted to do that, right? So yes, we can put them in a reserve account, and if the board says we want to move X amount of these funds to do whatever, the board is voting. It's the board's money. They can use it for whatever purpose they want. There's no, I don't think, and again, there's no resolution, that can restrict a future board from doing what they want with this money.
We could also decide among the board to use those funds in an investment account for earning money.
Well, I mean, I think if the funds are going to be sitting there, it would be smart to do that without the board, kind of just as a normal course of business, obviously, to not just leave money sitting in put it in either CDs or some safe investments.
Yeah.
Just again, if the money's going to be sitting there for a year or beyond, we certainly would look at those opportunities.
Well, and the way it's written, it's either or, so either A could happen or B could happen. Can it be both?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think to the extent that A says you're funding your total in part, so you can say, look, we have $700,000, we're gonna split it in half, we're gonna put $250 towards the custom house, we're gonna put $250 in the rear. That's the intent here, and I think.
Or none at all, because it's or, so we don't have to.
I think generally the intent of the resolution is not to say that this is what we're spending the money on, and this is all we're spending the money on. The intent of the resolution was based on previous requests to provide the board some comfort. This money that we don't even have yet. What is the concept of what we're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, it doesn't do anything because you don't have to do A at all. It doesn't require you to do any investing house, anything. It's no commitment to do that at all. And B doesn't have any restrictions. It's just a reserve fund that has no restrictions. So I'm not sure what this resolution does, but it's your resolution, Commissioner Fullwood, and it's your second, Commissioner Full. So I'm sure you have a plan in mind that one day we'll find out.
Well, so I think obviously the resolution, I think, says we're not going to put this money into the operating fund.
Right.
I mean, that's the.
Subject to further approval by the board, it's
Right,
like
right.
it goes to the reserve fund and I
Right.
move money out of the reserve fund.
By board vote. Absolutely. I'm not saying, but it says the immediate use of those funds, but the future, right, there's no restriction on the future.
Once it's sold, it's sold.
I just want to, if I may, I just want to clarify myself. I disagree with Commissioner Fullwood about the customs house because this office manager thinks that it is not a right move. I'm afraid that the money will go towards the customs house, and we have to maintain the customs house. And the funds will be depleted, and OPPO will be forced to sell another property. It would be nice to have our own office, but my office at the tax collector's office was a broom closet. So I don't need a fancy office. I just need somewhere to house the files. So I'm gonna clarify myself. I'm sitting here silent and I disagree. I disagree, because I don't think we need the funds right now. Why do we need to sell the property?
Well, you manage our books every day, so I appreciate your effort.
I see the operating funds.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second, and is there any further discussion on this item?
Chair, if I may say. I'm listening to this back and forth, and I have to put a lot more faith into the citizens of this county that voted for each one of these commissioners to sit here. In so doing that, they placed their trust in us to do the right thing, conducting their business. If anybody disagrees with that statement, please speak now. They trust us to make good, solid decisions on their behalf. And I don't see anything right now that would prevent us from moving forward with this. We will make sound decisions. We will do it in a conservative manner. We will not waste the taxpayers' dollars. And I think we just need to quit bouncing this ball back and forth. Let's go ahead and move forward. I've said from day one, I am for selling one piece of property. Not two, not three. I don't change my mind once I think about something and I make my mind, I'm ready to move forward with it. Because I think it is a good business decision. It gives us an opportunity to look at other avenues. My campaign slogan was direct and steer this forward in a steady direction. Right now, we're in turbulent waters. And when we move to the next item, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. But I would ask this board, take a look at what's before you. Everybody up here is a smart person. And the taxpayers have put us here because of that reason, and they think that we're gonna do the right thing. Let's show them we're gonna do the right thing. Let's move forward. Let's get through this and secure the stability of the port out into the future. No matter who the operator is gonna be. It doesn't matter. The port's gonna operate regardless. Somebody will be there. So we need to move forward and take the helm, if you will, and let's steer this ship. Because right now, there ain't nobody trying to do it. That's my opinion. So let's move forward and get this deal done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. No. Motion carries 3-2. Next item. Let's see, oh goodness, 7C, this is the merit update, and just to, I believe this is you've added the agreement, the purchase agreement. Patrick has not provided feedback on that agreement yet, so this is not yet ripe for action by the board. But you do have in front of you a purchase and sale agreement for the tug with one pledge. And, is there an additional merit update?
Well, so we got this draft about 48 hours ago. So we're actively looking at it and we'll have comments to send back to the operator. There should also be a letter from the chair. Purchase and sale. There should be a letter from the chair pursuant to the discussion of last.
It's not attached, but I
Yeah,
have
it's
seen
here.
that letter, yes.
So I don't know where that is right now. the letter that you and I drafted to Marad terminating the grant.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you wanted to attach that.
I think that required additional approval. I think we actually approved that as a board at the last meeting,
Okay,
and I signed it at the meeting.
Right, I sent it to you.
Okay. If I
So
remember
then-
signing it.
that's the only other update is that based on previous board decision, we're notifying DOT pursuant to their procedures that they outline in writing, that we want to terminate the Marad grant. They will receive that notice from us and then respond with additional procedures within, I think, a 30-day period. So really all we were doing is notifying them that we don't want to continue with this grant. We're not able to fulfill the obligations and the intent of the grant, and so we're going to terminate it. That's all based on previous discussions we had. In the intervening time, we got this draft purchase and sale agreement, which again, we're actively reviewing, will provide feedback.
Any comments from the members of the board on that agreement?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If I may,
May.
to me, this is very disheartening, what I'm reading on the screen. This is a purchase agreement for that total. And we said over 5 weeks ago, almost 6, that we were gonna be transparent about this. And I come in here and our attorney has just said that this was put together some 48 hours ago.
But we're not taking action on it tonight.
I want people to understand how we got to this point. I don't think we need to be addressing this tonight, period.
Well, if you don't want to have a session, I'm okay with that.
No, I want to put this information out there,
Okay.
but if it comes to a vote, then I'll settle that.
It's not an action item.
Okay, all right. Back on May 23rd, I made a request for specific information on the total. 7 days later, I still haven't got it. So I sent out another request on May 30th. 16th, I got it, so it's not enough. On 6/13, I sent out a reminder. On 6/20 at 6:13 p.m. I get an email from our administrative manager from the operator, said, okay, here's your information. That was Thursday, 6/20. All right, the interested party, and I'm gonna say it because it's been said before, McAllister, has been seeking this information for over 4 weeks. And he just got it sent to him on Monday because I didn't get it until Friday, so I sent it to him, and I actually called him, he was in the airport, and we chatted about it. I see there's a price already put in here. We're looking at a price that we don't even know what McAllister is going to offer. That can't be transparent. That can't be the right thing to do. So I would caution this board that we give McAllister a fair shake, and I'm sure they'll make an offer quicker than 4 weeks. Which is the time frame that took for them to give me the information, and simple information. That information could have been composed and sent in 10 minutes. But it wasn't. In my opinion, and I even said it to them in an email, it's obstruction. That's how firm I believe in this. If we're going to tell somebody that we're going to give them a fair option to give us a fair appraisal of what that tugboat is worth, then we need to do it. We don't need people throwing landmines down and trying to prevent us from getting them that information, and that's exactly what was done. And I'm angry about it. Because that's not the way you conduct business, especially taxpayer dollars. People ask me, I want to be able to tell them the whole story. But right now, it's already thrown together. I really have a problem. Not sure. And, I'm gonna leave it at that, but the emails are there, hopefully y'all will read them. I was as respectful as I could. I used the word please more than I've ever used it before. And I can assure you in the future it will not be in there. There was no reason for it to take that long to get that information. Now, I did call the council yesterday, and they informed me that they were going into a meeting with the owner. And that they would be back in touch with us. And like I say, I look forward to being well before the 4 weeks that it took for us to get this information. So with that, we'll move on.
Thank you, Commissioner Massey. Any other comments from the board? Vice Chair Taylor?
For Patrick, most of the data allegations through merit.
Their contribution is $1 million.
So that we would afford it, but we get it.
Right, I just want to remind you, there were 2 basic procedures that DOT offered. One was, this board, OPA, disposes of the vessel in whatever way, whomever it sees fit, based on appraisal market value, and then reimburse them $1 million. Or terminate the grant and somehow reimburse them $1 million. They don't really, and actually, if you sell it, it's not $1 million, it's 85% of whatever you sell it for. Because they're not in the business of making money on disposition termination grant. So what the board decided, via consensus, was let's move forward with the termination of the grant, let them know we're terminating, we can't ignore the grant, and then it's up to us what we do with both, but they ultimately got to be reimbursed $1 million. That's
And one more question, for Greg. I know, you know, on just part of the tug's been port and operational, what is the, y'all invested, how much have y'all invested into?
We've got the
$500,000.
roughly 700. So we made just over 700,000. There was a grant match. There was roughly $200,000 in refurbishment required after purchasing it, and not even including this maintenance from then to then, and then this last check on was roughly 7.
So for 700,000, y'all invested in the tug, and then you're offering $1 million. Right. Just wanted to put that out there.
Has that accounting been provided to the full accounting of the investment?
To the best, we had a call where we discussed it, and we don't, to the best of our knowledge, that's what it was, so we don't have confirmation of it. I haven't seen confirmation of like the exact amount that was granted. Like I haven't seen official documentation. There are just references to it, and I think the grant agreement, but it had estimated values.
But it's more than just the tug, it's the other.
Jobs.
Yeah, I remember the first St. John's fallout was at least 350,000 when we built, which we can do the required Coast Guard inspection that had to be done. But that first haul out, clean up, whatever upgrade was $350,000 approximately. That we paid from operating funds, obviously, the funds provided by the operator.
I understand there was a large rebate back on that because I was TM at the time. And what I seen was like $151,000 what they had to pay to get that tugboat out of the shipyard of Pulaski. I sent the tug captain down there. He actually worked with me on the dock. I sent him down there to bring it back. But the repairs that were just done on the tug in Jacksonville, I think was a sum of $337,000. Now, with that being said, we've asked since September of 2023 on financials on that tugboat. I haven't seen anything in solid form. I would like to know what that tugboat has generated from September of 2023 to current. That's going to give you some idea of where that tugboat is sitting as far as cash flow. There's no reason this should have taken that long to get that information. I'm gonna direct that question to the board attorney. Have we got that information where we can say definitively this is what that tugboat generated?
Not definitively, we do have information, we do have records that have not all been reviewed. By me, we've got some additional information that they found, we do have information, but definitive amount. As soon as we get through, next week, we can do that.
Thank you, Sharon.
So if I could say, I mean, I think, you know, so obviously remember, so obviously the tug is a port asset. The operating agreement, I defer to the lawyer, but I believe grants right to use all the port assets, first right to use, not exclusive, but first right to use all the port assets to the operator for the operating agreement.
It's not a first right of refusal purchase of port assets, it's the port operator gets to use what we have, priority use of what we have. If we sell something and we don't have anything. So it's not that they get the first right of refusal to purchase what we have, they just get priority to use the equipment and facilities that we are.
So we can sell any of the equipment and essentially,
I don't, you know, hypotheticals are rabbit hole here, I mean, that, I'm talking about the target.
There is a statement in the operating agreement about, the fact that we're going to be the operator. And I think that has been in so long and provided that service, you know, customers who rely on it. And we really could possibly be operations that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Greg, but I will counter it to say the tug was obtained under pretenses that we probably don't want to get to.
Agreed.
And OPA hasn't received any share of the revenue from the, under the operating agreement, additional activities beyond cargo handling and warehouse related to the cargo handling are supposed to be shared between OPA and the operator.
If they're agreed.
It actually says may.
Well, we would like them to share.
We're looking, we're looking for the sense. Very lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I will say this word again, we're in the middle of this document, there are things I've noticed that, you know, that we need to add, and I think we need to be clear in whether it's Savage or McAllister or anybody else, that if this tug is sold, it remains here to service this facility, and if this entity shares in the revenue from the use of that vehicle, for that vessel. So,
It says all new or additional revenue streams not contemplated by this agreement shall be divided between Port Authority and operator.
we have work to do on this document.
And that needs to be clarified to McAllister. The second part of your statement was not clarified to them. I took this board's concern to them about the tugboat staying in Fernandina, and they said absolutely it will stay in Fernandina. And if it has to be taken out for service, maintenance, whatever the case may be, they do have a replacement tug that will immediately be brought up here to cover the vessel traffic until such time it can switch back out. Now, sharing in the revenue, I didn't go down that hole.
Well, that's a recommendation for me that I haven't even formally put in front of you, and ultimately you all will decide whether.
I'll take that, whatever this board's wishes are, and, all I can do is just bring back what they say.
I think there's something to be said for, the alignment that the operator has with with OPA and the kind of mutually, just a mutual, alignment that we have to serve customers, to provide the best service to them, to move their cargo, and that tug, staying with the operator keeps that alignment. And a third party doesn't necessarily ensure that alignment and what's best for customers at the port.
But at times, we will still need other tug operators to bring in ships, so it's not. I don't think we can say that we will agree never to work with a third-party company. I mean, OPA is not gonna hire another port operator instead of Savage, that we did agree to. But you are hiring outside tug operators to bring in vessels at times, right?
So we don't hire, if another tug is required, it's the ships.
The ship is ready, yeah, they bring their own, and they can call it.
If they want to use, the ones that use the tug that we operate, they negotiate it through us.
Okay, but
Outside
that's
of
stuff
that,
they need a second time?
Again. Okay. Depending on the size of the ship.
To be clear on that, Madam Chair, when that tug was being used as a contract vessel, it always went through the pilots. They were the ones that called tug assist. Whether it was one or we had to mobilize one cross state or Jacksonville, it didn't matter. The pilots dictate what's going to be used. When that boat was purchased by the terminal operator at that time, OPA, it was stated at that time, with the exception of Summers Island, every ship that comes to that dock will have tug assist. The only exception was given to, Summers Island because of the size of their ship and it has, bow thrusters on it. They can park that thing like a car. So with that being said, the pilots are going to generate the call for the tug, nobody else. If they don't need it, then they won't call for it. But the policy was stated at that time, as I said, that any ship coming there except Summers Island had tug assist.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Okay, any further discussion on that item? So at the next meeting, we'll bring back forward, I'm guessing, a revised purchase and sale agreement. And we will have hopefully a proposal for revenue sharing at that time. So we'll bring that forward at the July meeting. Okay, great. So the next item up is the budget fiscal year 2024 version, 2024 to 25 version 2. And the sub item reimbursement for separate audit fee. I didn't see that one in the packet that you emailed. That wasn't
no.
attached. Are we prepared to discuss it, or are you prepared to discuss it?
I don't know if there's any I to discuss, so obviously we made a change.
Yeah.
I didn't distribute any copy of the budget because that's the only change so far. Obviously, I'm open to any comments about the budget, any feedback, any updates. Obviously, we have the workshop plan for July, whatever.
Second meeting in July.
So, but yeah, that's the only change is we essentially, the operators will be responsible for, the yellow book or the required additional audit based on the grant that we received during the year.
And then you, Rosanna, you had some IT items.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm still researching that and computer stuff, and I will present that, possibly first meeting of July, because I'm going to need a new computer sooner than later.
I agree. You said it's 10 years old?
2018, I believe. I think it was Laura DeBella who purchased it.
Any other budget discussion items? No? All right, 7E, open document request support operator. Did we have any updates on that?
We just talked about it.
Yeah. So that one item related to the tug, because it's active and we're gonna vote on that for the next item. I'd like to, have a package for the board at next meeting with the revenues that we've received, and then they provided us in a document request that we received last year, the proceeds from the tug. So we have those maybe in a rough format, so maybe someone at your office could help us sort of put them into a report of what the proceeds would have been by year and match that up to what we know the expenses were, just so that we have a sense of what the revenues might have been. And then we'll try to validate the revenue share concept.
So what part of, what's Pierre doing versus what?
I haven't seen what you're talking about, so.
So I think Rosanna has the responsive files because they were part of Chip Ross's public records request. And she actually circulated them to the board recently. But I can get with Rosanna to compile that, but I think because it's part of our legal request that you submitted,
We
we
have
need
it,
to see it too.
we have it,
Mhm.
but putting it into, comparable report format or however you just discussed. If you want us to do that, or do you want Pierre to do that?
I think that would be more appropriate for Pierre, so that's like calculating the finances. But the item that's on the agenda is actually, was a legal request. So I think we had like a checklist of all the different documents that we had requested. And I don't think we've seen like what was still outstanding, what had been received. And every meeting, we're keeping it on the agenda because I think of a lot of other legal activities, but we did make a document request. And so I think we need to have a sense of like where we are in the receipt of those documents. That's all.
Gotcha.
Okay, the next item is, did you have something on that? Commissioner? Okay. And then 7F is the resiliency plan. I think we asked to include that, as part of the agenda, but I don't recall if we needed an action for us because we've submitted the grant, so I don't think we have an action item. Okay, so we can strike that from the agenda. Okay, 8A is new business, the Bernardino Harbor. This is the harbor realignment from the Army Corps of Engineers. And we received an email on this item. This was a request from the Army Corps as to whether we wish to proceed with the standard dredging schedule. And I think this is your Commissioner Fuller. Did you want to take it?
Yes, other board called me and, well, sent an email to me and then I called him. And he wanted to know if we wanted to continue to put revenue, in the budget, in the president's budget for next year. And I asked him why he was asking me that, and he said, well, the shoaling that we were worried about is almost cleared up. But he said the learning basis looks like it's encroaching, more closer to the port, so I told him that I had talked to the port operator and not Coast Guard, the pilots, and they said, you know, we need to get that taken care of, so he's gonna keep it on budget.
Great. So that doesn't require us to take any action.
No action needed.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, I know that's been an issue in the past, pilots, before your time, the pilots and our customers were very impaired in the Turning Basin, especially at Low Tide. So I'm glad that we can do that. All right, Administrative Office Manager updates, did you have something, Rosanna?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have some updates. Number one, Mr. Hale and I, when we were working on the CSIP applications, we discovered that we pretty much need a new capital improvement plan 5-year plan. So just a heads up to the, is that
Yeah, that's right.
just a heads up to the board that we may need to prepare a 5-year capital improvement plan.
Okay. Okay, so when would you decide to see that on the agenda?
I don't know, get back in that. We've got a, one exists that day and we. They say this that's.
We can put it on the agenda for the next meeting and then take it off, if we're not ready for it, or we can add it to.
Well, part of our 2025 budget. So that they should probably be.
So please make a note that we would add it to maybe the September.
So for the port operator, I still need, I don't know if you replied to Miss Erin Hamilton from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. She wanted modifications and plans for the port. If you want, I will forward you the email again.
No, see that the,
Okay, and also there was an inquiry from Kudzu. They're the subcontractor for Coast to Coast. I don't know if Coast to Coast was paid yet, because there was a construction lien notice.
yeah, so. We incorrectly made a payment to Coast to Coast. And then we realized that in the agreement, that was a different payment process, we weren't paid any record. So we're unlocking that and moving forward with the record process. And so that's why Coast to Coast hasn't paid anybody, because they're all working with us and want that, and the right process. So that should be resolved very shortly, and we not going to have a part of this process. So, and be able to get it started.
How late is it?
To this, the Coast to Coast subcontractor,
Yeah, they have not been paid as of May 29. Right. Also to, the invoicing for matter, the property appraiser case to the operator, would you like to be invoiced as a whole or per?
Okay.
Okay,
So we have to pay those.
right, they are paid, the
So you
ones,
just need to send me a invoice.
okay,
I'll take it.
and then you'll take it from there, perfect, thank you. The US Coast Guard certificate of documentation was paid by the operator. They do have the original certificate, and I have a copy, and the original goes on the tag. We received the payment from Zions Bank for the June 2024 annual bond issuer for 1,500. So that goes in the operating account, correct?
Mhm.
Kyle Kaufman from FDOT suggested he could come on a quarterly basis to provide the FDOT reports. Would the board like that? Because we have a meeting with him tomorrow.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I talked to Kyle yesterday, we were out there looking at the warehouse, and we were asking, or he asked us if it'd be okay if he came quarterly or so often here, instead of trying to do it online, and that way everybody could be here, everybody could see the report. Everybody could ask.
Great offer.
Okay, I will.
Maybe my mom.
Yes, I will inform him tomorrow. And Commissioner Cole, you were gonna take care of the Nassau Tradeplex signage. Do you have an update, please?
Actually, and I took care of that. I removed the recognition RV sign from the board there. on both sides, and, I got a verbal quote from one lawn company, Dixon Tree and Lawn, for $495 to, cut down the dead limit of almonds, trim up the crepe myrtles, and mow and edge the back lawn. So that's a one-time deal. One-time cut. I'll let you get that one, not very many.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me, quote.
Okay,
What we want to do with it, it's our property, it's our responsibility, it's,
do you want that on the, as an action item for the next?
Sure.
Yard waste behind warehouse number 2, Chair Hill, you were gonna communicate with Mr. Gleason and the neighbors. Do you have an
It's-
update?
It's not, it's not Jeremiah's responsibility, it's the neighborhood, and I haven't talked to, the neighbors yet, I think we'll something in the garage. I know that the one gentleman that was approached was embarrassed. But it was the other person who both were told to do it. They're not here.
Lunch will be provided for the mediation on July 2nd by the city. I do need a head count. So only for the OPA commissioners and staff.
I can be in attendance. There's one commission of one way, and one secretary.
You want me there on Tuesday?
correct.
One of their commissioners is not gonna be there either.
So it'll be 4 of us and 2 lawyers.
Okay,
Okay,
is that your last item?
sorry, no.
Okay.
Um,
Alright.
just a reminder, FDOT coordination meeting is tomorrow at 2 p.m. at Mr. Laporte's office. Commissioner Nelson, you will attend, yeah, instead of,
I'll be there tomorrow.
okay. Okay, and Mr. Hale, you will attend, yes?
Tomorrow?
Yes. At 2 p.m. at Mr. Laporte's office.
Okay, that close.
Okay, okay, just as long as the operator is represented, because he will talk about the CSIP application. Okay. We need the CBP emailed and they would like an update, on the project, Commissioner Forward. I forwarded you. Okay, so you did not copy me on that. Also too, please use just a reminder for the board, please use your portofernandina.org email address when conducting OPA business. Just don't use your personal email address, please, and copy me. And there's no TPO TAC meetings in July. They will be back in August. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Just want to remind everybody about Tuesday, 10 o'clock, at City Hall. You know, you're on a recap, which is you're going to include 4 people, so we can have that with everyone.
Okay, did you have any other update? You said you had a couple of legal updates, but.
No.
Okay. All right. That will do it. Any other items we brought up, commission?
One question, if I may.
Yes.
I'd like to direct out, the operator. Greg, can you give us an update on the status of the claim right now? You've been watching the last couple of days, and, I was even, had a conversation today with Summers Out. I know the 2 container cranes are down, and there was some issues with the mobile harbor. Can you give us an update on where we're at?
Yeah, they're going on, having some electrical issues, so, I thought that fixed in the afternoon, we're very close on one of the entry cranes. And then it simply tripped out on another issue, but with all electrical related, so we have manufacturer reps on site. They're all they think that they're close to figuring out resolving.
Have they singled out one crane to try to get up before the others?
Yeah, gotta have. So it's that south areas that are gonna focus.
All right, so they're gonna focus on the mobile home, correct?
Now it's
That's
the
the
south
plan.
pantry. They're working on they're focusing on the blue one and the south pantry.
That would be number two.
Yeah, so.
Thank you.